We're joined by national security analyst Ryan Mauro, Skyping in from the Garden State of New Jersey, and also standing by again from Sarasota, Florida, Colonel Derek Harvey. Ryan, it is good to have you with us. And we were talking earlier with the Colonel about an estimate of 20 sleeper cells in Europe, Belgium, Germany, France, the Netherlands. What is your estimate, if you have one, on sleeper cells in the United States, Ryan?
Well, I'm not comfortable giving an estimate because sleeper cells, by their very definition, are sleeping, so it's hard to get a number. But we do know that they have to exist because we've had terrorist attacks here. We have terrorist people trying to finance attacks from here. Al-Shabaab, for example, the Al-Qaeda branch in Somalia, they were running a recruitment network in the United States for quite some time and probably still are. And they just chose not to carry out an attack because it was more beneficial for them to fundraise and recruit from here than to sacrifice the whole network by setting off a bomb. And
yet, when we take a look, Colonel, at what has happened here, allegedly under Homeland Security, we have expanded the visa program, as Ed Roy said, and we still don't have a handle on our borders. Are we just kind of whistling past the graveyard?
Well, that's very concerning. And you know, the visa issue with the Europeans and the inflow, outflow of fighters that go and join ISIS or other groups in the region, that's very concerning because they can then come to this country. But JD, let's look at the past. We've had plenty of indicators of potential threats, whether it was in Boston or with the doctor, the major that conducted the attack at Fort Hood or elsewhere, and we didn't connect the dots. So we have a problem with connecting the dots on one hand, and also with the original intelligence of collecting and identifying these very hard targets that immerse themselves in these communities. And it's a real challenge. And you just throw on top of that this issue of our border security issues and the inflow, outflow of people from Europe with these open visas. It's going to be a real challenge for the security and intelligence elements here.
Colonel, you mentioned what happened at Fort Hood, and of course that is still classified by our government as workplace violence rather than terrorism. It seems to me to be delusion. But I tell you what, let's listen to former UN Ambassador John Bolton for his take on recent events.
Look, we're now in a situation where the Belgians are carrying out preemptive raids against ISIS terrorists. The Belgian police are now taking a harder line than the White House.
Let me ask you, Ryan, you just heard that from John Bolton on the Fox News channel. Are we being too timid in the United States in dealing with a domestic threat?
I think so. I think we're being very tough when it comes to finding out about the individual that's trying to set off the bomb. But in terms of vetting and going and targeting people because of the ideology, I don't think we're doing a very good job. And I have meetings with counterterrorism personnel who complain of this same thing, where they say, look, if we have to go after someone and invest our time, we're going to focus on the easiest ones to prosecute, the ones that we believe are going to set off the bomb. But that does nothing to stop the people that are inciting, the people that are creating the intellectual foundation for those attacks. And so that has to be how we define the threat. The French are doing it. The Europeans are doing it. If you look in the Muslim world, you have Islamists and non-Islamists all using terminology like that. We're really the only ones left that won't do that.
And mindful of that, we have a minute remaining. So, gentlemen, 20 seconds to you both. We'll begin with the Colonel. The release of more prisoners from Gitmo yesterday. The timing on this, does that trouble you?
I'm seriously concerned about this because I've been tracking these releases and others, whether they were from Bagram detainment facility in Afghanistan or the prisoners we released in Iraq that we wanted to continue to hold. We've had too many of them go back into the fight.
And 15 seconds to you, Ryan.
Yes.
Sure, this is a terrible strategy. I honestly would rather have them put on trial in a civilian capacity than have them released around the world. If you're going to release them around the world, then put a GPS chip on them so you can track them and bomb them. But don't let them out there to rejoin the terrorists.
Well, I like that notion of a GPS chip. Gentlemen, we won't do that to you, but we will have you back in the near future. Our thanks to you both, and we're coming right back on America's Forum.